Council's annual meeting in Edinburgh has ended without agreement on expanding the ICC Test Championship. Discussion on expanding the competition to include Afghanistan, Zimbabwe, and Ireland ended without agreement. ICC members also failed to reach consensus on a proposal to reduce one-day internationals from 50 overs to 40. The meeting approved the continuation of the suspensions of the US and Canada. Meanwhile, Mauritius was admitted as the ICC's newest associate member, taking the governing body's membership to 102, comprising 12 full members and 90 associate members. Forget football or tennis. England has been cheering on a very different sport. In the tiny village of Richmond, competitors gathered for the 53rd World Peace Shooting Championship, battling for glory by firing dried peas through blowpipe.
The world's most unlikely sporting showdown, the World Pea Shooting Championship, is underway. Armed with a blowpipe and a handful of dried peas, participants line up to prove who has the steadiest aim. Contestants stand 12 feet from the target and fire 5 dried peas, hoping to score maximum points. A bullseye is worth 5, but success depends on precision, controlled breathing, perfectly round peas, and the direction of the wind. The championship features both traditional and open categories, with the open class allowing customized pea shooters, some even fitted with laser aiming aids. Four-time champion Michelle Berry added another open title to her collection, while 40-year-old Paul Gibb claimed victory in the traditional competition.
Oh, it's such an honour to be a champion. You have to select your peas very carefully. They need to be very round and you have to hold them very steadily. That is the secret.
Oh, it's such an honor to be a
अब और उसमें करें वो जो पार्ट रह गया है वो एक अलग से पार्ट जाएगा लेकिन तरतीब से रिकॉर्ड किया करें ये देख सकते हैं सही है ना
Welcome back. The news in detail now. Iran says it has launched a new wave of missile and drone attacks on US military facilities across the Gulf, marking a major escalation in the regional conflict. According to Iranian media, Iranian army targeted Prince Hassan Air Base in Jordan, Sheikh Isa Air Base in Bahrain, and Ali Al Salim and Emirates Al Jaber air bases in Kuwait. IRGC claimed the strikes were part of its ongoing eye for an eye operation in response to US military action and warned that further American involvement in the Strait of Hormuz would trigger more attacks. The US is escalating its military campaign against Iran. US Central Command says fresh strikes are now underway targeting Iranian military capabilities. According to U.S. Central Command, the strikes began at 5 p.m. Eastern Time following orders from President Donald Trump. CENTCOM says the operation is intended to degrade Iran's ability to attack civilian mariners and commercial shipping infrastructure, adding that the strikes are aimed at holding Iranian forces accountable. Survivors of the Iranian drone strike on a U.S. military facility in Kuwait accused senior American commanders of ignoring repeated warnings before the deadly strike, according to the Washington Post. The Washington Post, citing survivors of the strike on Fort Shuaibah, reports that U.S. generals ignored repeated warnings before the Iranian drone attack that killed 6 American troops. Survivors say they fear no senior military official will be held accountable for the decisions that preceded the deadly strike. Fresh strikes across the Gulf as Iran and the U.S. tweet attacks, raising fears of a wider regional conflict. Let's take a look at latest developments.
According to Canadian authorities, Iranian strikes targeted 3 border posts and an offshore oil platform following recent U.S. military action. Jordan's military said 3 Iranian missiles landed inside its territory without causing casualties, while Qatar condemned strikes that wounded 3 people as a dangerous escalation. Oman also lodged a formal protest after reporting an attack on its territory, a day after hosting Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi for talks on the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media reported casualties following U.S. strikes in Hormuzgan province and said military sites on Keshem Island were also targeted. The two sides continue to offer conflicting accounts over navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, with Tehran claiming restrictions and Washington insisting commercial shipping remains open. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged both sides to halt the fighting, while Pakistan has called for restraint and renewed diplomatic engagement. The latest developments have heightened concerns over regional security, global energy supplies, and the risk of a broader conflict.
Iran says multiple enemy projectiles targeted Keshem Island, but all strikes hit military sites with no reported casualties. Keshem Governor Hussein Amir Temuri says 10 to 11 enemy projectiles struck military targets on the island, with no casualties reported. Iranian media also reported explosions in the southern port city of Bandar Abbas. Authorities say the situation is being monitored but have not released further details on the attacks. An offshore oil platform and 3 border centers in Kuwait after an attack, leaving 1 worker injured and infrastructure damaged. Kuwait's defense military says 3 northern border centers were hit in what it described as a criminal attack, causing material damage. The ministry also reported a drone struck an offshore oil drilling platform operated by the Kuwait Oil Company. Fresh U.S. airstrikes on Iran have killed lieutenant of the Navy of the Islamic Republic's armed forces as the death toll from 4 days of attacks continues to rise. Iranian media says Navy Lieutenant Hamid Raza Tehmani was martyred in a U.S. strike on the port safety of just overnight. Sources also told Al Jazeera that another military member was killed in Bushehr. According to Iranian reports, U.S. strikes over the past 4 days have killed 19 people, including civilians, and wounded more than 100. As war between Washington and Tehran continue to escalate. The Strait of Hormuz has become the center of a new standoff, with Iran claiming control of the key waterway while the U.S. insists shipping remains open. The competing claims come as regional tensions continue to rise. Let's take a look.
Conflicting claims are emerging over the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran saying the strategic waterway remains closed, while the United States insists commercial traffic continues. U.S. President Trump says the Strait of Hormuz is open to commercial shipping, despite rising tensions with Iran, adding that vessels can continue using the key maritime route. U.S. Central Command also maintains that the waterway remains open to all lawful traffic. U.S. forces positioned to ensure freedom of navigation. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority rejects the U.S. position, saying transit through the strait is currently not possible due to what it calls recent illegal U.S. military movements in the region. The authority says shipping permissions will resume once stability and calm are restored. Iranian officials also continue to defend Tehran's position. Iranian officials claim Tehran blocked the U.S. attempt to establish an unauthorized maritime route near the Strait of Hormuz. Supreme Leader Advisor Mohsen Rezai called the waterway a key strategic asset, saying Iran would protect it through its defense capabilities, further stating the strategic passage was more important than possessing dozens of atomic bombs. The dispute follows an incident involving the cargo vessel MV Galaxy off Oman's coast. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Agency reported the crew abandoned the ship after a fire broke out, with most crew members rescued and one still missing. Iran and Oman are continuing talks on a proposed shipping arrangement for the strait, with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi discussing the proposal in Muscat.
Pakistan has urged all parties to de-escalate tensions and uphold commitments under the Islamabad MOU. In a statement, Foreign Office says it has closely monitoring the recent escalation in the regional tensions. It reaffirmed support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries in the region, urged all sides to exercise restraint, take immediate steps toward de-escalation and honor commitments under the Islamabad MOU. Pakistan also reiterated its commitment to promoting peace and stability through dialogue and diplomacy. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urges an immediate halt to the US-Iran conflict, warning of catastrophic regional and global consequences. In a post on X, Guterres said he is deeply concerned by recent US strikes on Iran and Iranian attacks on neighboring countries. He urged an immediate halt to all military reaction, warning that a return to full-scale war would be disastrous for the Gulf region and global stability. The UN chief called on Washington and Tehran to resolve their differences through diplomacy.